February the 9th at 1:30. At this point in time, I'm asking that we have as much support again. I know you guys support us a lot, but this particular meeting will be one of our bigger meetings with them. It will be the first time that we've really done a true coordination meeting with TxDOT as far as the high-speed rail goes, and we would like to show the folks here at TxDOT and the FRA and the DCR that as a group here in Waller County, we are united to stand against the high-speed rail. The meeting will be at 1:30. It will be held at Prairie View A&M. Ironically, or in my opinion, the way it should be, the meeting will be at the Don Clark Criminal Justice Building. Since the HSR is trying to steal property, in my opinion, from county folks here, I think Criminal Justice Building is a good place to have this meeting. It came out real well. So with that being said, I just want to say again, thank you guys. I look forward to seeing everybody who can make it. I know it's at 1:30 on a Tuesday afternoon. I know a lot of people work, and I think that's part of it. They're trying to not have a big crowd there, but the more people we can have there for the county, the better it will be. Again, gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
That'll conclude public comment. I would like to add, the Sub-Regional Planning Commission, we did have one of our monthly meeting. Our normal monthly meeting was Monday night, and we held it here in Commissioner's Courtroom, and we had probably the best turnout I've ever seen for a Sub-Regional Planning Commission meeting. Literally, it was standing room only. We had people standing up here behind the days, and people along the walls, and even had overflow out into the hallway. So it's obvious that this is a very important topic and issue in Waller County. It will impact us in a number of ways. So I would encourage anyone and everyone to let their neighbors, their friends, their coworkers, anyone know about this coordination meeting. We do understand it is on Tuesday afternoon, and that does present a little bit of a difficulty with people that work during the day. But anyone that can be there, we would like to encourage you to please turn out. I think it's important to make impression on TxDOT. That Waller County is definitely concerned about this project and how we can do whatever we can to try to stop this boondoggle. So with that, we will move to the consent agenda.
Motion. Second.
Motion and second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, raise your right hand. All opposed, consent agenda is approved. All right. Moving on to number 6.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and second to discuss and take action on the occurrence of outdoor signs on public right-of-ways, including the possible appointment of a person to remove said signs in accordance with Section 393.003 of Texas Transportation Code.
What this is I asked this to be put on the agenda. It's political season. I think if anybody has driven anywhere in the county, you see signs everywhere. And I've had a few phone calls and just noticed that we have a lot of signs showing up in places where they shouldn't be. Every time that a person signs up to run for political office, they go to their party chair, and I'm guessing you guys give them a packet that explains, filing your campaign finance report, where you can put signs, where you can't, yada, yada, yada. It's not difficult. I'm pretty sure a third grader could read it and understand where you can and cannot put signs, which is kind of scary that we have candidates that do not understand that. And when you get elected, you stand on January 1st with your hand on the Bible and swear to uphold the law and follow the law. And if you can't do it as a candidate, I don't know if you even deserve to be elected one way or the other, because you've shown that you can't follow the law. They're very simple. Don't put it in the public right away. Don't put it on public property without permission. I know TxDOT has gone through a couple of times and removed signs, and then they just show right back up. And so I asked this to be put on the agenda, and asked Liz if she would explain maybe what the right-of-way is, and maybe next week give the candidates a week to go through and find their signs. I understand if you give a friend of yours 10 signs and they say we'll put them up, they may not know where the right-of-way markers are. But at the end of the day, as the candidate, you're still responsible for where they end up. They're your signs. Give everybody a week, and next week, maybe if I'm allowed, I'll bring a list and start reading the names out. But I mean, come on, people, it's not that hard. You know, I don't care what party it is, it's happening. And you're supposed to represent the people of this county, and if you can't follow the laws, I don't think you deserve that opportunity and that privilege. So the only question I'd had from a few people is where the right-of-way is, because I've seen some people take it away from the road, but on the other side of the ditch, between the property line and the ditch, and that was one thing I talked to Liz about.
Okay.
And are you going to enlighten me?
I'm going to try to like.
Okay.
The county right-of-ways are generally the area between the two fences.
Okay.
Some county right-of-ways, it's rare. Sometimes you have a 40-foot right-of-way. That's rare. A lot of times it's a 60-foot right-of-way. When those county roads were put in, the county went in and put those fences in, the first initial fence that was there. So that area between the two fences is the county right-of-way, whether or not we acquired it by deed or we acquired it by easement.
Right.
That's the county right-of-way. So I would say that any area between those two fences is county right-of-way. The only area that I would say not to pick a fence, to pick a sign up would be if at a point where the sign was actually attached to the private property owner's fence.
Right. And that's kind of what I was getting at. I mean, if a private property owner would like, gives you permission, then put it on his fence. You know, that way the county or TxDOT, and to me it's also, you know, somewhat of an endorsement by that landowner to allow that candidate to put one there. And so I've seen a lot of people try and just move it from close to the road to the other side of the fence to try and keep TxDOT from picking them up. But again, you know, that's somebody's private property. You know, if somebody came and just put a sign in your front yard without asking permission, you'd probably be a little bit upset. That's, you know, in Texas, we like our private property rights. That's one thing that TJ's group's fighting for. And signs are, you know, not allowed on people's property. So I don't know if we want to appoint somebody to go in there and look at it, pick them up. I do know that they had said that the sheriff and the constables are typically the ones that would do it, but since both our sheriff and many of the constables are in an election this time, I think it would be better to have an independent person so there's no conflict between the two.
Who had some interest in this issue. For one, I agree. During political season, and it's not against any party or any candidate.
Both
But
parties.
there is a problem with people just putting their signs in right away at the intersections. They're bandit signs. You know, I went when I campaigned. I went to great lengths to make sure my signs were placed in legal positions. And you're right. Sometimes a volunteer puts a sign up, but when I get a phone call, I personally would be out there within 24 hours removing that sign.
Right.
So I think it's important, and you got candidates running that there's the law is what the law is. We need to be respectful of people's property rights. So I'm totally in favor of doing this. My thought was, you know, with the sheriff's election going on and some of the constables running for election, that perhaps the obvious party, and I haven't had any discussions with Orville, would be, you know, road and bridge employees are out and about across the county every day. So if they're out and they see a sign that's in a right-of-way, and I would think most of the road and bridge employees would know what right-of-way is also. So if they see a sign, because there are requirements. We're not picking up signs and destroying them. We're picking up the signs, and then we have to give notice to those candidates that their signs have been picked up, so they can have an opportunity to claim their signs.
That's true, but there is a provision. There is a provision that if the sign is worth less than $25, you don't have to give a notice.
Oh, okay.
So most of those little, I don't know, last time I bought them, those were about 10 bucks a piece, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, personally, you know, I mean, we could do it as a courtesy.
Make this hard. Oh, yeah.
And if it's more than that figure,
The bigger signs.
If it's more than that, you have to give a 10-day notice, and let's see, we'll run through it together. Okay, the sheriff can pick them up, a constable can pick them up, or if the commissioner's court appoints a volunteer to pick them up, which I don't see any reason why that can't be a road and bridge employee. you can pick up the sign. If you know who owns the sign, you have to give them certified mail notice within 10 days after the date the sign is picked up. If you don't know who owns the sign, you put it in the newspaper within 10 days of picking up the sign. You have to put in the notice a description of the sign, where it was taken from, a statement that the owner can take back the sign before the 21st day after the notice was mailed or published, if all fines that are imposed under this chapter are paid, and state the date, time, and location where the sign will be sold if it is not reclaimed. You can put more than one sign confiscation in the same notice. After you print the notice, then after that 21 days, the sheriff can sell the sign at public auction. Okay, then that money goes into the county treasury to a fund designated by the commissioner's court. So basically, I think that's why they figured out that that was a lot of work for less than a $25 sign.
Right.
And so they said, but you can discard a sign if it's less in value than $25 without giving the notice.
And that's most of them, small little yard signs. But I do
Mr.
kind of
Mayor,
like
I want to thank you for putting this on the agenda. It's been kind of a hot button for me in Precinct 2, not necessarily for political signs, but for business signs being even cemented into county property, and have been there for a long time, and nobody takes action. I have at least a handful or more business signs in county right-of-way that I would like to, for them to follow the rules and the law like we all do. And get those signs and put them appropriately somewhere else.
Well, this doesn't just have to be for political signs.
Yeah,
This
and
could
that's
be,
why
if
I'm
y'all do
glad
this,
that
it could
is
be
on
for
the
signs
where we
from
can
now
talk
on.
about it.
Yeah, but you see the tax signs?
Yeah, I can't speak for other precincts. I'll speak for Precinct 2, and there are a whole lot of them out there.
You see it everywhere.
And one disturbing one, and I just got the contact information from the railroad. I'm going to have to contact them. But at 1774 and Riley Road, there are a multitude of personal signs on railroad property, which is another problem because we have to deal with that entity to try to get it down. But and the thing about that particular intersection is there's high-speed traffic. There's many wrecks. I've already contacted TxDOT requesting a stoplight be put there. But when you're in that intersection with a high-speed traffic, and you're looking around and all you see is these signs selling homes, selling whatever.
Right.
It's a safety issue. Now, safety issues are very important to me. I don't want anybody hurt in my area in Precinct 2. So I'm going to get to work with the railroad on that, but I encourage Commissioner's Court to take action to eliminate any kind of signs where they should not be.
I do kind of like public shaming in the newspaper, though. That way we could allow it, everybody to know the people that cannot follow the law.
Yeah, but the problem is
Light 'em up.
with the newspapers, there's in Waller County we don't have newspapers that cover the whole county, especially up on the northeast side. There's no publications. Now there used to be the Tomball Magnolia Tribune. They used to cover that area, but they do not anymore, and so they're left without any type of news source unless it's internet.
Elton, I have a question. Would this allow us to pick up signs in state right-of-ways like FM roads?
And if we do have a repeat offender, there are fines that could be
Well,
imposed.
it's a Class C misdemeanor if you do it the first time. But there's also a defense that if, like in the area where you talked about, you have a volunteer
Right.
pick up 10, and your volunteer does it without you knowing about it, then you can't be prosecuted for that.
I mean, like if we got one that just refuses to follow the rules and puts it in the same place every weekend, there are other things, fines that could be imposed.
Sure.
How do we convey to the candidates that we're giving them about a week or so, and the next week, we're instructing our road and bridge employees to pick up signs that are volunteers?
I don't think they need notice. They got notice when they filed. Pick them up
Plenty of time to
today.
do it right now.
I guess we are doing it right now, aren't we?
Wallace is right there.
Yeah, I guess, and I can, that's what I'll do. I'll contact Ben Tibbs and make sure he conveys to all their candidates that we are going to start policing and picking up signs. So if most of the signs, as long as they're yard signs and we just pick them up, then they can be just discarded.
Well, also on the, I'm sorry, go ahead, Walt.
Whatever you do, if you post something, just put in big bold letters, that the county chairman cannot pick up signs.
Right.
And,
Right. Well, and I know, I've talked to Wallace and Bid about this, and, and I know they emailed the candidates to let them know, and I don't see a whole lot of change. But also, the signs that are on private property. If there's a private property owner, who should they contact to have the sign removed?
Well, okay. One of the scenarios you talked about was when the candidate went across the fence and put the sign behind the fence.
Mhm.
In that scenario, Road and Bridge or whoever doesn't
Right.
need to pick that up.
Correct.
That's an issue with, it's going to be up to that private property owner to call the sheriff or the constable or
Okay.
one of y'all and say, candidate X is putting signs on my property, what do I do about it? And then we may have a criminal trespass.
Well, the ones I've seen, I haven't seen any that are on the other side of the fence. They're just walking up to the front side, road side of the fence and just, hanging it up right there. So they're not going across the fence, they're hanging it up from the road, but it's still on that property owner's fence line.
But it's still this side of the fence.
Correct.
You can pick that up.
So, okay, so they could pick it up off, okay.
Not
Otherwise, it's not attached to the fence.
Well, that's what say they'll take zip ties and wrap it around the barbed wire, so that's probably what we need to
We
do.
need to just wait and see if the private property owner complains about it.
Right. Okay.
So you're saying that some people are putting their signs on people's fences without permission?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a problem.
I wouldn't dare do that.
Never. One thing I was wondering, I mean, if there's a sign that they have the permission of the property owner, and it touches or it's on the line, are we going to pick those up? The reason I ask, like, for example, driveways, a lot of the signs that we have the wires, and they're small signs. So if they're putting it up to where it's in their driveway and it touches or it's on that line or part of the sign touches on the line, do we pick those up?
If it's in the county right away, you pick it up.
I think it had to be as black and white as possible because I don't want Road and Bridge to have to make those judgment calls, make it very simple for them. Yes or no.
I'm good with that. I mean, if somebody wants to, I guess
Should we make an amendment? I move to amend it by appointing Road and Bridge as our enforcement committee.
Well, let me say this before we move on, if I could. I've been on the phone, or have been in the past, when I was running for the Secretary of State's Office of Trains. And I could not get a definite from them because you can't tell, unless you're a surveyor, where that property line is. Because a lot of times, the fence is not the property line. So be very careful what we do here. It could be 6 inches one way or the other. Not necessarily does that property owner know where his property line is.
Well, if that's why the right of way goes up to the property line. So if there's not 6 inches in there that nobody has authority over. So it's either on the private property owner's fence or it's in a right of way.
well, but the assumption is you're assuming that the fence is always on the property line, which is not.
That's not the case. I could not get a definite.
True.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm kind of saying if the sign touches or is right on that line or close to it, almost might just want to err on the side. But if it's in the ditch or if it's any distance away from the fence where it's like it's in right of way period, it should be removed.
Well, part of this is the volunteer has to be trained, and then it doesn't specify how that training is going to come about. I would anticipate that training is going to be the people that Orville or you all, and you don't need to just do Road and Bridge. You need to have Orville tell you who's going to do it. Because whoever's going to do it is going to have to undergo some training with us in our office. As far as what the law is about right of ways and what to do with these signs and how to comply with this law. So the instruction that they're going to get from us is if it appears that there's a question about whether that's private property or not, to go up to that house or go up, find out who that landowner is before that sign's removed.
Okay.
But clearly, when you've got a sign and it's 3 feet from the road,
And that's the biggest problem. I think
that's what we're talking
if we could tackle those, that would be a huge first step. And then, you know, the ones that are on private property, you know, we can have that landowner contact the sheriff or that candidate. You know. Now,
So-
can we post a list of repeat offenders?
You can post whatever you want.
Because I've just past experience, most people, if they're gonna just blatantly break the law, they aren't gonna change by losing a $2.50 sign. And so sometimes that public opinion and public scrutiny is the best deterrent.
Light them up.
I don't see why we could. I don't see why weekly we couldn't do just a simple blurb press release, if you want to call it a press release, just basically stating what signs were picked up and how many from each candidate.
All right, and I want to be very clear: it is not one party; it is both parties.
Yeah.
And
This is
I might
not-
suggest,
not-
since, me talking to the state attorneys concerning this, maybe something of a foot away from the fence line, anything above that, to make sure that, we're following the law.
You can dictate however you want to.
Yeah, because, we might have high winds, and if it's a wire of stakes, the wind could push that thing over the sign into the fence or away from the fence. So I don't want to harm either party. And for me to even talk about this, this is somewhat political. My reason for talking is these company signs and business signs. But again, speaking with the attorney from the Secretary of State's office, they're questionable about this particular law. So if it's an obvious away from the fence, foot or more, might be grounds to remove that sign.
I can tell you, I look at numerous surveys on an annual basis. You would be astonished to know how many fences are in the wrong place. So when you start playing with this,
Yeah, there should be a little bit of room.
you better be very careful, because I promise you there are lots of fences that are not in the right place in this county.
Well, the flip side to that, too, is if you have a property owner that takes the time to call and say, why did you take Joe Blow's sign up? I had given him permission to put that on the outside of my fence. That's going to be rare. But number two, you put it beside the fence.
And rather than destroying the signs picked up, put them in the place that Road and Bridge is choosing on their property, and allow the owner of the sign to come pick it up.
I'm sure you can do that.
Rather than outright destroying it.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we, Orville, if we have you next week, bring us a list of employees, mostly the employees that are in vehicles or that are mobile and drive around the county on a daily basis. Then next week we can put this back on the agenda so that we can formally appoint those individuals as volunteers that you will then meet with to do the training. And that gives all candidates a week. So that let the service notice to candidates that they have a week to get their signs in order and get them off of the public right-of-ways. And then, after we appoint those volunteers and you train them, the signs are fair game. And that's not just political signs. It could be any signs in public right-of-way.
Garage sales, free puppies, whatever.
We can't pass it, appoint Road and Bridge, and then have Orville pick 2 or 3 people, or do we need to name them specifically?
No, you need to appoint the exact people that are going to do it.
Okay? Does that sound
And
acceptable to everybody?
I'm going to table it.
Yeah, I guess.
Motion table.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion second to table. Any discussion? All in favor of tabling the next week, raise your hand. Okay.
Thank you, Evan, for looking at that for me.
All right, number 7.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion second, discuss and take action to approve the transfer of fixed assets to the maintenance department. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of 7, raise your right hand. All opposed? 7 carries. 8.
Motion. Second.
Motion second, discuss and take action to approve the transfer of fixed assets to the IT department. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of A, raise your right hand. All opposed, 8 carries. Number 9.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion second to discuss and take action to approve the following transfers within the 911 addressing budget. $500 from the line item 125-526-531-400 postage to line item 125-526-530-100 supplies, and $1,800 from line item 125-526-540-900 professional consultant services, $545 from line item 125-526-562-500 dues, training, travel, for a total of $2,345 to line item 125-526-583-500 computer software and equipment. Any discussion? I'll make just a brief comment. I know that Brandy, is it Frable? Frable has been in the 911 position now. How long has she been in that position? 4 months, 5 months, 3 months? She's been working very hard and trying to straighten out some of the 911 addresses, which have been a mess for quite some time. And I know it's some people have gotten some notices in the county saying that their address is going to change.
Yes.
And I know it doesn't sit well with most folks, but you have to understand the way the 911 system works. There's a way these addresses should have been done, and we realize they weren't done the right way the first time. But if you want an ambulance or a fire truck or somebody to be able to find you in the event of an emergency, these are the way the addresses need to be. But she's done a very good job. I know she's been working really hard to try to get things lined out. So I just wanted to say that while we have this on the table. So, any other discussion? Hearing no other discussion, all in favor of 9, raise your right hand. Opposed? 9 carries. Number 10.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion second, discuss and take action to approve payment $1,000 to Tyler Technologies for the registration fee for Brandy Smith and Samantha Snyder to attend Odyssey 2016 User Conference March 28th through March 30, 2016 in Austin, Texas. Payment to be taken from line item 119-429-581-817 Technology Enhancements. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of 10, raise your right hand. All opposed? 10 carries. Number 11.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion second, discuss and take action to approve payment of $639.40 to Hilton Austin for lodging expenses for Brandy Smith and Samantha Snyder to attend Odyssey 2016 User Conference March 28th, March 30th, 2016 in Austin, Texas. Payment to be taken from line item 119-429-581-817 Technology Enhancements. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of 11, raise your right hand. All opposed? 11 carries. Number 12.
Motion. Second.
The motion second, discuss and take action to approve payment of $15,000 for invoice number ECN 022021 from line item 125-411-545-001 maintenance contracts for Code Red extension for January 23rd, 2016 to January 22nd, 2017. Any discussion?
Yes, Judge, on this one, I don't have a problem with it, except the fact that I have no supporting documents for this.
You don't have number 4?
No.
Is anybody else missing number 12 in their packet?
No problem.
Okay. Sorry about that. We'll get you a copy of number 12.
No, he can use this one. He needs to look over.
He looked at mine.
Oh, dude.
Okay. Sorry about that, Commissioner. All right. Any other discussion? I've heard. I think the Code Red system works really well.
Yeah.
From folks that I've heard from when we used it. All right. Hearing no discussion, further discussion on favor of 12, raise your right hand. Opposed? 12 carries. Number 13.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion second, discuss and take action, approve payment $525 for invoice number 105934 to Fritz Byrne, Head and Fitzpatrick P. LLC from line item 125-411-540-300 legal for the Pintail landfill. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of 13, raise your right hand. Opposed? 13 carries. 14.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion second, discuss and take action, approve payment of $3,412.50 for invoice number 105935 to Fritz Byrne, Head and Fitzpatrick P. LLC for line item 125-411-540-300 legal. Objection to Centerpoint Power Lines. Any discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor of 14, raise your right hand. Opposed, motion carries. Elton, Liz, do we have things to talk about in the executive session?
We don't have anything we need to update you on today, Judge.
Okay. Did we hear anything from JD, Sydney? Because I tried to call him this morning to see.
I haven't heard anything.
I don't think we need to discuss with JD. I will go ahead and, JD did contact me a couple of days ago. Again, he had attended a meeting with the executive director of TCEQ, along with attorneys for Cal and the city of Hempstead. For those that don't know, the landfill matter, the landfill case is, there's still activity. Pintail or Green Group has asked the TCEQ for an opinion as to whether or not they believe that if they've refiled a new application for a landfill, if they can piggyback that on the registration for the transfer station that they have already received. In other words, that it would be grandfathered from the city of Hempstead's landfill ordinance and the county's landfill ordinance. We, of course, believe that legally that would not be permissible. We are hoping the executive director, right now it's in the executive director's hands with TCEQ. So JD had a meeting with that individual, and I know a letter got sent to the TCEQ executive director with legal arguments as to why, the basis for which he should deny or give an opinion that would not be permissible. So anyway, I will distribute that to the commissioners. I just received that yesterday afternoon. I think that's the main thing on the landfill. That's about it at this point in time. So I don't think there's anything else to discuss. All right, so number 15, 16, 17, 18, we're all going to be withdrawn.
Second.
I have a second to adjourn. Any discussion? All in favor of adjourning, raise your right hand. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.